Welcome back to another episode of this series, Taekook Marriage. I hope you will love this episode and I hope you are loving the story. So, how was your date? Mrs. Kim asked Jungkook excitedly. Jungkook smiled and hugged Mrs. Kim. Then he said, "It was so beautiful. Finally, I am getting what I waited for." He said it with full of happiness. At the same time, he felt tears in his eyes because Jungkook is so happy though. Throughout his life, he is waiting for this day. Taehyung is really with him. Jungkook also felt that Taehyung is accepting him. He felt Taehyung had feelings for him, but Jungkook know that Taehyung is person who take so much time to sort his feelings. Mrs. Kim made a circle on Jungkook's back and Jungkook broke the hug and looked at his uncle and said, "Uncle, you are right. Taehyung has feelings for me. But he is not able to understand his feelings towards me. I think he is little bit confused," Jungkook said, wiping his tears in his eyes. Mrs. Kim looked at him and said, "Don't tell me you are crying because you are too happy." "Of course I am so happy and that's why I am crying," Jungkook said while remembering moment of his date. He remembered that how Taeyang pulled him closer and covered with blanket. He remembered Taeyang's cute smile. He remembered how Taeyang kissed him back. Unknowingly, Jungkook touched his lips. Mrs. Kim looked at Jungkook, who is now in his own world. So Mrs. Kim said, "Hello, came to the earth and why are you touching? Oh, don't tell me that you both just kissed again," Mrs. Kim asked when he saw Jungkook is touching his lips. "Yes, we kissed, uncle, and this time we both were aware about what we are doing, not like last time," Jungkook said, remembering his last kiss with Taehyung at the party. "Oh, you both are in so hurry." Mrs. Kim smirked at Jungkook and Jungkook is so not offended by it because he knows Mrs. Kim is the one who supported him more than anyone in his love life. "Uncle, I should leave now. It's already so late," Jungkook said. "You can stay here as you said. It's already late," Mrs. Kim said and dragged Jungkook to guest room which is beside Taehyung's room. "But uncle," before Jungkook continued, Mrs. Kim cut his words and said, "No buts. If you stay here, you will get more time to spend with that dance spot," Mrs. Kim said while thinking about dumbness of his son. How can someone kissed and don't know why they kissed? "Uncle, he is not dense. He is just slow in sorting out his feelings," Jungkook said, pouting at Mrs. Kim's. "He can't take anyone calling his baby dance, even his baby's mom. Don't pout or no. You are bimpered for him, but that doesn't mean you can ignore the truth. The truth is that he is tense. I am not surprised if he take decades to sort out his feelings. Can you wait for him until then?" Mrs. Kim asked Jungkook. "So I will wait," Jungkook replied to Mrs. Kim, looking at his eyes. Mrs. Kim can see how sincere Jungkook is. That is the reason he is supporting Jungkook. "You are lovesick," Mrs. Kim said and gave Jungkook to pajama. "You have pajamas for me?" Jungkook asked Mrs. Kim with questioning look. "I prepared for this day. When you both decided to go on date, I knew this day will come, but I didn't know that it will come this soon," Mrs. Kim said, clenching at his own behavior. Mrs. Kim is the person who is trying to ship his son with Jungkook so badly, so he prepared everything. "I love you, uncle. You are so sweet," Jungkook said with his funny smile while sitting on the bed. "I thought you only loved my son. Now go to sleep," Mrs. Kim said and left Jungkook's room. Next morning, Alarm ringed in Thang's room at 6:30 a.m. Thang woke up immediately. Thang sat on the bed, rubbing his eyes. He sat like he that sometimes then he stretched his hands to wake up actively, but then he remembered yesterday's event in the car when he stretched his hand. He immediately opened his eyes and looked around. He saw he is in his room. Then remembered all the events happened yesterday. He remembered his first date. He said himself, I never thought my date will be so romantic. All thanks to him. He wondered how his Jungkook Hyung know about his favorite lake. He felt shy when he remembered Jungkook covered him with blanket and held him at his wrist tightly. How Jungkook asked him his permission to kiss him. Thang felt Jungkook is the perfect husband material for anyone on this earth. Then Thang remembered how Jungkook called him his future husband. Thang felt hotness on his face, the loud bang in his chest. He kept his left hand on his chest. Thang remembered he is leaning on Jungkook's shoulder, but now he is in his room. He looked at the watch. It's 6:45 a.m. Thang thought about it. Then it clicked him. Jungkook brought me home. Unknowingly, smiled, craved on his lips, and reached to ear to ear. Because Thang imagined about Jungkook carrying him like a baby, it made him blush. Thang got up from his bed and went to washroom, washed his face. He saw his face in mirror, which is like a red tomato. Then Thang said himself, just imagining myself with Jungkook making me like this. That means Jungkook has some impact on me. I have to sort this out. After washing his face, Thang sat in front of his study table on the chair. Then he took his diary. Thang is someone who do not write diary regularly, but he write it when the issue is so complicated. Right now, Thang is feeling so much around, so he wanted to know what it is. So he opened it and took blank pen and started to write. First heading Thang wrote in it is Thanks Jungkook know about me. He knows I like egg scramble and toast. He knows I don't like crowds, so he brought mask and glasses for me. Hyung knows about my favorite lake. He knows I felt like to feed fishes. He remember our kisses of childhood. He knows I am clumsy, but he didn't scold me. Now what I feel when Jungkook is with me, my heart beats with speed like metro train. My face becomes red tomato whenever I am with him. I feel safe around him. He always make sure I am comfortable. Like yesterday, he made sure that I am warm. He covered me in blanket. In office, he took care of me. In crowd, I feel his lips still on mine. I like his smile. I like to kiss him, and his kiss is too familiar to me. I am not cold around him. His smile is trillion worth because his smile is the only thing which made my overthinking brain stop and look at him. Even I am not able to control my mind, but Hyung's smile able to control my mind. I myself want to be under his control. Most important question I have, why I feel like this around Jungkook. Thang wrote all these things and he read it again and again many times. He had only one question, why I am feeling like this with Jungkook. He said himself because he is still not able to sort out his feelings. Finally, Thang defeated from his confused mind. He got off from his chair and went to take shower. Jungkook came to his room. Jungkook is there because Uncle Mrs. Kim asked him to call Taeyang for breakfast. Jungkook entered Taeyang's room. He saw there is no one. Then Jungkook saw his diary on table. Jungkook knows that looking at others' private thing is bad manner, but can't control himself. When he saw his name in bold letters, he took that diary and started to read. Jungkook read it carefully and smiled at his baby's innocence. Because reading all this, anyone can say that Taeyang really like him. Jungkook read last question and he answered it by writing below it with pen. Why I am like this around Jungkook Hyung? Because you like him. After that, Jungkook went outside room without waiting for Taeyang. Taeyang came outside the bathroom after shower. He got ready and went outside his room. He entered their dining area. Then he saw his mom and dad as usual waiting for him for breakfast. He sat beside his mom and said, "Good morning, Papa. Good morning, baby." Mrs. Kim said to Taeyang and placed ceramic plate on the Taeyang for breakfast. As usual, Taeyang took his egg scramble and toast. Mrs. Kim saw it and said, "I made also noodles. You should try." "Mom, I will eat after this," Taeyang said, pointing at his toast. "I know you are not gonna eat noodles anyway." "How was your date?" Mrs. Kim asked his son. Taeyang, who is eating, when he heard about the death, he choked. Why? Because he remembered the case with Jungkook. Mr. Kim immediately stand and started to pat on his baby's back. "You should eat slowly." Taeyang nods at him. Then he calmed down and looked at his dad and said, "I'm okay, Dad. Now you have your breakfast." Mr. Kim sat on his seat and Mrs. Kim just staring at his son. Taeyang looked at his mom is staring at him. He knew his mom will never let him go until he answered him. So he answered, "It was nice." Actually, Taeyang felt it is one of the best romantic date ever in history. He had no, but he didn't dare to say it loudly because just nice. "I should teach Jungkook to where to date and how to date my son," Mrs. Kim said, taking bite from his breakfast. Taeyang know if he didn't tell his mom anything, he will definitely teach Jungkook Hyung how to date. So he took deep breath and said, "Mom, truth is, it was so beautiful date," Taeyang said and looked at his plate to avoid the gaze of two pair of eyes. Mrs. Kim and Mr. Kim are stunned by their son's reaction because they saw Taeyang is sighing. Mrs. Kim and Mr. Kim looked at each other and turned to their son. Mrs. Kim thought, "What the heck, my little butt is sighing. Oh, my Jungkook is really something. He is bringing something emotions on this cold-faced, emotionlessly robot son of mine." Then Mrs. Kim cleared his throat and said again, "Ask which place you went on date." "My favorite lake," Taeyang answered. "What you did?" Mrs. Kim asked, and Taeyang is startled by that question. He remembered case again, but he immediately came back to his cold face and answered, "No more question, Mom. I'm going now." Thanks said and left his home. Mrs. Kim turned to Mr. Kim and said, "What do you think what they did?" Mr. Kim just shrugged and said, "You should ask your cute son-in-law. I already know why. I was just testing him." Mrs. Kim said to his husband, "What do you mean?" Mr. Kim asked his wife. They kissed. Mrs. Kim said, "Cafe." Cat's cafe. Tang went inside his cafe. He saw of his friends are talking with each other. He looked around cafe. Very few people are there. Hope is attending customers. After saying hi to him, he went towards his two other friends. Tang, what the heck are you doing? Why you are not helping Hobby Young? Jimin, excuse me, Mr. Kim. We already did our work. Almost all the customers of this time came and went. So we are resting, and Hobby Young just came because he was late for some reason. Tang then took look at his watch. Then he understand. So I came late to the shop. Jin, you are late today. Tang, yeah. I slept more. Jimin, oh, remember you went on date yesterday with your Hyung? Jin, yeah, don't tell me you sleep more because you did something with your Jungkook Hyung and which made you tired. Jin said to Taeyang with a wink. Taeyang looked at him with done face because he read between the line of Jin. Taeyang, you Pabo Hyung, we didn't do anything. Jimin, then why did you go on date? At least you should kiss each other. Now Taeyang remembered his kiss once again by his Pabo friends. Without knowing himself, he blushed. Now he knows his power friends are going to teach him, so he told himself, don't allow them to teach you. Jin, oh Jim, the great cold. Taeyong is blushing. That means Jimin, they really kissed. Jimin said, completing Jin Hyung's word. On the other hand, Taeyong thought there is no way he can escape from these powers, so he prepared himself to tell the truth, and he also want to talk with them about something. Then Jungkook Hyung asked permission to kiss me, so I can't just say no to him. So we kissed. Jimin, that's great. Jungkook has some manners. Otherwise, some people kissed without permission and forget about that. Jimin said, remember how Taeyang kissed Jungkook, almost created fuss in media about Jungkook. Then Taeyang forget all about that. Taeyang, how can someone kiss without permission and forget about that? I think those people are papas like you. Jin and Jimin looked at each other and burst into the laugh. They laughed because Taeyang himself did that, and he is himself calling Pabo. Once Taeyang know about what he did, he will definitely want to bro himself in the ground. Taeyang, why are you both laughing? Jin, we are just thinking what will those people do when they remember about the case. Jimin, yeah, I am thinking that only. Taeyang, it's quite embarrassing situation. If I were him, I will find hole to myself. Jimin thought just what I thought. You are definitely my best friend, my soulmate. I really know you. Jin, by the way, how was your date? Then it's beautiful. Hyung took me to my favorite lake. We had dinner, fishes, Jimin, and then no more question. You both are asking me question like mother and just now escape from my mom's questions. Then why are you here? Papa, it's my cafe shop also, but we know if I want to take Jungkook Hyung for date, then what's problem? He is already head over hill to you. If you take him to graveyard for the date, he will come with you happily. Thank no more joke. I'm asking seriously, where should I take him on date? Jimin, by the way, you know anything about him? Thank no, I don't know anything about him. Jin, then you should call someone he is close and ask about him. Thank I only know about Mrs. Yan auntie. Jimin, then ask auntie. Thank sighed because he's thinking how he's going to ask about Jungkook to his auntie. he's feeling awkward. Then he remembered another person close to Jungkook, so he took his phone and talked. After disconnecting his call, he looked at his friend Jimin, who is close to Jungkook. Then it's none other than the great Mrs. Kim, my mom. Jane, oh, that's true. Uncle is admirer of Jungkook. Then, yeah, mom already called him his son-in-law, Jimin. Then they are just waiting for your answer. Then, yeah. By the way, mom told me Hyung liked to read book and he liked beautiful cafe. Then you should take him to our third cafe shop. It's beautiful. Jin, tell me when you are going. I will make cafe reservation exclusive only for you and your Hyung. Then reserve it for me today and cancel other reservation if they are booked. So everyone, this is end of today's episode. I hope you will love it, and whatever you feel about the story, please tell me in the comment section. I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, be happy and healthy. Bye.